Have you ever wondered if the loose change sitting in your pocket right now could be worth far more than 25 cents? What if a single quarter, a coin millions of Americans handled every day, was quietly hiding a secret that collectors are still chasing decades later? Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of the 1999p Washington quarter, a coin that launched a new era in American coin collecting and created a treasure hunt that continues to this day. At first glance, the 1999p Washington quarter doesn't look extraordinary. It carries the familiar portrait of George Washington on the front, a design Americans had known for generations. But this coin arrived during a historic turning point in United States coinage. It wasn't just another quarter. It was part of a revolutionary program that transformed ordinary pocket change into a nationwide collecting phenomenon. To understand why this coin matters, we need to travel back to the late 1990s. The United States Mint was searching for a way to reignite public interest in coins. For decades, quarter designs remained largely unchanged. Most Americans barely paid attention to the coins passing through their hands every day. Then came an ambitious idea: celebrate every state in the nation through a unique series of quarter designs. The result was the famous 50-state quarters program, one of the most successful coin programs in American history. In 1999, the first 5-state quarters were released, and among them was the Delaware quarter. Coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint carried the letter P mint mark, making them officially known as 1999p Washington quarters. Nobody could have predicted the frenzy that followed. Suddenly, Americans everywhere began checking their change. Families collected quarters in maps and albums. Children learned history through coin collecting. Millions of people who had never considered themselves collectors became treasure hunters overnight. The 1999p Washington quarter became the beginning of that incredible journey. The obverse featured George Washington, based on the classic design created by sculptor John Flanagan. But it was the reverse that captured public imagination. Delaware became the first state honored in the series. The design featured Caesar Rodney riding horseback during his legendary overnight journey in 1776 to cast a crucial vote for American independence. Think about that for a moment. Every time someone spent one of these quarters, they were carrying a tiny piece of American history in their pocket. The Philadelphia Mint produced an astonishing number of these coins. More than 373 million Delaware quarters alone were struck with the P mint mark. On the surface, that sounds like a coin that should never be valuable. After all, rarity often drives price. While millions were produced, finding one in perfect condition is an entirely different story. Most entered circulation immediately. They bounced from cash registers to vending machines, from wallets to piggy banks, collecting scratches, marks, and wear along the way. As years passed, pristine examples became increasingly difficult to find. Collectors soon realized that high-grade specimens could command significant premiums. A quarter worth only 25 cents in everyday commerce could sell for tens, hundreds, or even thousands of dollars if preserved in exceptional condition. But that's only part of the story. The real excitement began when collectors discovered unusual errors and varieties among some 1999p Washington quarters. Coin errors are like hidden accidents frozen in metal. They occur during the minting process and often create one-of-a-kind collectibles. Some quarters displayed off-center strikes. Others showed die cracks, double details, or other unusual characteristics that made them stand out from ordinary examples. Imagine receiving change from a convenience store and unknowingly holding a coin worth far more than its face value. Stories like these fuel the passion of treasure hunters across America. One of the most intriguing aspects of the 1999p Washington quarter is how it represents a unique moment in collecting history. Before the state quarters program, coin collecting was often viewed as a niche hobby. After 1999, it became a national obsession. People searched couch cushions. They checked coin jars. They examined every quarter that crossed their path. For many collectors, the 1999p quarter was the first coin that sparked a lifelong interest in numismatics. And that emotional connection adds another layer to its appeal. Sometimes a coin's value isn't measured solely by rarity or silver content. Sometimes it's about what that coin represents. For countless Americans, The 1999 state quarters marked childhood memories, family activities, and the excitement of filling the next empty spot in a collection album. Yet mysteries still surround some examples. Why do certain quarters survive in remarkably pristine condition while millions of others show heavy wear? How many rare error varieties remain undiscovered in old jars and forgotten collections? Could valuable specimens still be circulating unnoticed today? The answer is almost certainly yes. Every year, collectors continue finding interesting examples that had been overlooked for decades. Now let's talk about value. Most circulated 1999 Washington quarters remain worth face value. That's the reality. However, uncirculated specimens in excellent condition can bring premium prices. Certified coins graded at the highest levels by professional grading services can achieve impressive auction results because truly flawless examples are extraordinarily difficult to find. Condition is everything. A quarter with brilliant luster, sharp details, and minimal imperfections can be dramatically more valuable than an ordinary circulated coin. That's why experienced collectors carefully examine every detail under magnification. The difference between a common coin and a sought-after collectible often comes down to tiny features invisible to the naked eye. And then there are the errors. Certain error quarters can attract intense interest from collectors willing to pay substantial sums for unusual pieces. The exact value depends on the nature and severity of the error, as well as market demand. This possibility keeps the hunt alive. Every quarter becomes a question. Could this be the one? Could this ordinary-looking coin hold an extraordinary secret? That sense of possibility is what makes coin collecting so addictive. Unlike many hobbies, treasure can genuinely appear anywhere. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need a map. Sometimes all you need is curiosity and a handful of change. The 1999 Washington quarter embodies that spirit perfectly. It reminds us that history isn't locked away in museums. Sometimes it's sitting unnoticed in a cash drawer, tucked inside a coin jar, or forgotten at the bottom of a drawer. And perhaps that's why this coin remains so fascinating more than 2 decades after its release. It represents a moment when an entire nation rediscovered the excitement of collecting. It transformed everyday transactions into treasure hunts. It connected millions of people to history through something as simple as a quarter. The next time you receive change, take a closer look. That quarter in your hand might not just be money. It might be a piece of American history. It might be a collectible. It might even be an overlooked treasure waiting to be discovered. And who knows? Somewhere out there, a rare 1999 Washington quarter could still be hiding in plain sight, passing from hand to hand, waiting for the right collector to recognize its significance. That's the magic of coin collecting. The treasure isn't always buried underground. Sometimes it's been in your pocket all along. So, have you ever found a valuable quarter in your change? Do you own any 1999 Washington quarters? Or have you discovered an interesting error coin? Share your story in the comments below. And if you enjoy uncovering hidden treasures, fascinating coin histories, and valuable collectibles that could be hiding in everyday places, make sure to subscribe and join us for more incredible discoveries. Because the next great treasure story might begin with the very next coin you find. The United States Mint was in the middle of the famous state quarters program, one of the most successful coin programs in American history. Millions of Americans who had never collected coins before suddenly found themselves searching through pocket change, hoping to complete sets and discover rare varieties. Among those coins was the 2000 Washington quarter. The P mint mark tells us this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most historic minting facilities in the United States. Philadelphia has played a crucial role in American coinage since the country's earliest days. And in the year 2000, its presses were working around the clock. Here's where things become truly incredible. The Philadelphia Mint produced an enormous number of quarters that year. More than 900 million examples of certain 2000 Philadelphia state quarters entered circulation. That number is almost difficult to imagine. If you stack them together, the pile would reach astonishing heights. The sheer scale of production reflected how much demand existed for quarters during the state quarters era. Because so many were made, Most 2000p Washington quarters are worth exactly 25 cents today. That might sound disappointing, but the real story is far more interesting. History has a funny way of hiding treasure in plain sight. Even when a coin is produced in huge numbers, certain examples can become surprisingly valuable due to condition, striking errors, or unique characteristics. And that is exactly what happened with some 2000p quarters. Imagine two identical quarters leaving the mint on the same day. One spends years bouncing around in cash registers, vending machines, and parking meters. The other somehow survives untouched, preserving its original mint luster and sharp details. Decades later, the worn coin remains worth face value. But the pristine coin might be worth many times more to collectors. Condition is everything. Professional grading services examine coins under magnification, evaluating every tiny detail. They assign numerical grades, with higher numbers representing better preservation. Coins that achieve exceptionally high grades can become remarkably valuable because so few survive in perfect condition. This creates an interesting mystery. How can a coin with hundreds of millions produced become rare? The answer is simple. While many were made, very few remain in flawless condition. Time is relentless. Scratches happen. Contact marks appear. Coins circulate. Perfect examples become increasingly difficult to find. And collectors are willing to pay for perfection. But condition isn't the only reason collectors search for these quarters. Mint errors add another layer of excitement. Throughout history, mistakes made during the minting process have created some of the most sought-after coins in existence. Off-center strikes, double designs, die cracks, clipped planchets, and other unusual errors can transform an ordinary coin into a collector's prize. Imagine discovering a quarter in your change that somehow escaped the mint with a visible mistake. Suddenly, that everyday coin becomes a conversation piece and potentially a valuable collectible. This possibility keeps treasure hunters searching through rolls of quarters even today. What makes the 2000p Washington quarter especially fascinating is the era it represents. Think about it. This coin was struck during a moment when America stood between two centuries. The internet was rapidly expanding. Technology was reshaping everyday life. The nation was looking ahead to the future while simultaneously celebrating its past through the state quarters program. In many ways, these quarters became tiny time capsules. Every scratch, every worn edge, every surviving example tells a story about where it has traveled. Perhaps one quarter passed through thousands of hands across multiple states. Maybe another sat forgotten in a drawer for years. Somewhere, a pristine example might still be hiding in an old collection waiting to be rediscovered. That sense of possibility is what makes coin collecting so addictive. You never know what you might find. A child receiving change at a grocery store. A collector opening a bankroll. A family sorting through an inherited coin collection. Any of them could uncover a surprisingly valuable example. And here's something many people don't realize. The state quarters program sparked one of the greatest collecting booms in American history. Millions of people who had never paid attention to coins suddenly became amateur treasure hunters. Families worked together to fill quarter maps. Children learned geography through state designs. Grandparents shared collecting stories with younger generations. The 2000 quarters were right in the middle of that cultural phenomenon. For many Americans, these coins represent memories as much as money. They remember searching through change jars. They remember trading duplicates with friends. They remember the excitement of finding a state quarter they didn't already have. That's part of what gives coins their power. They're not just metal discs. They're pieces of history that people can hold in their hands. Today, collectors continue examining 2000p Washington quarters for high-grade examples, unusual errors, and hidden varieties. Most will never become famous auction stars. Most will continue circulating as ordinary quarters. But every now and then, someone discovers something special. And that's enough to keep the hunt alive. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about this coin is that it reminds us how history often hides in everyday objects. We tend to think valuable artifacts belong in museums or behind glass displays. Yet sometimes history sits quietly in a pocket, a drawer, or a forgotten coin jar. The 2000p Washington quarter may not be the rarest coin ever made. It may not be the most expensive, but it occupies a unique place in American numismatic history, representing a nation entering a new millennium while participating in one of the most successful coin programs ever created. So the next time you receive a quarter in your change, take a closer look. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. Examine the condition. Because while most quarters are worth only 25 cents, some carry stories, history, and collector appeal far beyond their face value. And who knows? The next coin you overlook could be the one everyone else missed. That's the magic of coin collecting. Treasure doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. If you enjoyed this journey into the story of the 2000p Washington quarter, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us for more incredible stories of rare coins, hidden treasures, and forgotten pieces of history that might be worth far more than anyone realizes. Until next time, keep checking your change, because history could be sitting right in the palm of your hand. Have you ever pulled a quarter from your pocket, tossed it into a jar, or handed it over at a checkout counter without a second thought? What if one of those ordinary-looking coins was hiding a story far more fascinating than its 25-cent face value suggests? Today, we're diving into the surprising world of the 2002 Washington quarter, a coin that millions of Americans used every day, yet one that still sparks excitement among collectors, treasure hunters, and coin enthusiasts. At first glance, the 2002 Washington quarter doesn't seem extraordinary. It looks like just another quarter featuring George Washington on the front. But beneath that familiar design lies a remarkable chapter in American coin history, a story connected to one of the most successful coin programs ever launched by the United States Mint. To understand why this quarter matters, we need to travel back to the late 1990s. The United States Mint was searching for a way to renew public interest in coin collecting. For decades, most circulating quarters looked virtually identical. While collectors appreciated them, the average American rarely paid much attention. Then everything changed. In 1999, the U.S. Mint introduced the State Quarters Program, an ambitious project that would honor all 50 states. Each year, 5 new quarter designs would be released, celebrating the unique heritage, culture, and history of different states. Almost overnight, Americans became treasure hunters. Families searched through pocket change. Children filled coin maps. Grandparents saved special quarters for their grandchildren. Suddenly, a simple trip to the grocery store could lead to an exciting discovery. By 2002, the program was in full swing, and the Denver Mint produced millions of quarters carrying the famous D Mint mark. These coins represented 5 states released during that year: Tennessee, Ohio, Louisiana, Indiana, and Mississippi. Imagine the excitement. Every few months, a brand new design entered circulation. People eagerly checked their change, hoping to find the latest release before anyone else. The D Mint mark found on these quarters indicates they were struck at the historic Denver Mint, one of America's most important coin-producing facilities. Located in Colorado, the Denver Mint has played a crucial role in producing U.S. coinage for generations. What makes the 2002 quarters especially interesting is the enormous scale of their production. Hundreds of millions of these coins were struck. Tennessee alone saw well over 300 million examples produced in Denver. Similar numbers followed for the other state designs. With mintages that large, you might assume these coins could never be valuable. But that's where the story takes an unexpected turn. In the world of coin collecting, rarity isn't always about low production numbers. Sometimes, condition is everything. Think about it. Most quarters enter circulation immediately after leaving the mint. They travel through cash registers, vending machines, parking meters, and countless hands. They get scratched, nicked, dropped, and worn down over time. Finding a 2002 quarter isn't difficult. Finding one in pristine condition is a completely different challenge. Collectors spend years searching for examples with flawless surfaces, sharp details, and exceptional eye appeal. Coins that appear almost exactly as they did on the day they were struck can command surprisingly strong premiums. Some high-grade examples certified by professional grading services have sold for many times their face value. In exceptional cases, top condition specimens have reached hundreds of dollars at auction. For many people, that's a shocking revelation. How can a coin worth 25 cents suddenly be worth hundreds? The answer lies in perfection. Professional coin graders examine every tiny detail. A microscopic scratch, a small contact mark, or a slight imperfection can significantly affect a coin's grade. The highest grades are extraordinarily difficult to achieve because even newly minted coins often contain tiny flaws. This creates an intriguing paradox. Millions of 2002D quarters exist, yet only a small number survive in truly elite condition. And that scarcity drives collector demand. But condition isn't the only factor attracting attention. Errors and varieties add another layer of excitement. Throughout history, the minting process has occasionally produced mistakes. Sometimes dies become damaged. Sometimes metal flows incorrectly. Sometimes striking pressure creates unusual appearances. Most 2002D quarters are completely normal. However, collectors constantly inspect them for unusual characteristics, including die cracks, off-center strikes, doubled features, and other mint-made anomalies. These errors transform ordinary coins into miniature mysteries. Imagine discovering a quarter that looks slightly different from every other example you've seen. Was it damaged after leaving the mint? Or did something unusual happen during production? That question alone fuels countless hours of searching. For many collectors, the thrill isn't just about money. It's about discovery. It's about finding something hidden in plain sight. And few coin programs inspired that feeling more effectively than the State Quarter series. The 2002 releases each tell their own story. Tennessee honored its musical heritage, celebrating the state's profound impact on American music. Ohio paid tribute to aviation pioneers and astronauts, reflecting its role in the history of flight. Louisiana showcased cultural traditions deeply connected to jazz and regional identity. Indiana highlighted its racing heritage and state history. Mississippi featured imagery reflecting its agricultural roots and natural beauty. Each design transformed a simple quarter into a tiny history lesson. For many Americans, these coins became their first introduction to coin collecting. Children who had never thought about coins suddenly wanted complete sets. Parents helped search through change jars. Teachers used quarters as educational tools. The program created millions of new collectors almost overnight. Even today, many experienced numismatists trace their passion back to the excitement of searching for state quarters. And that's part of what makes the 2002D Washington quarter so significant. It represents more than metal. It represents memories. Maybe you remember checking your change after school. Maybe you remember filling a collector's map with family members. Maybe you remember the excitement of finding a state quarter you hadn't seen before. Those experiences helped transform everyday Americans into amateur historians and treasure hunters. Yet there's another fascinating aspect to this story. Many people assume valuable coins must be ancient. Roman coins, medieval coins, gold pieces from centuries ago. But the 2002D quarter proves that modern coins can be collectible too. Age is only one ingredient in the collecting world. Historical importance, condition, demand, and unique characteristics often matter just as much. That's why collectors still pay attention to quarters that are barely a few decades old. The state quarters program itself became a cultural phenomenon. It generated unprecedented public interest and encouraged millions of people to examine their pocket change more carefully than ever before. Without realizing it, Americans became participants in a nationwide treasure hunt. And that treasure hunt continues today. Some people search for high-grade examples. Others hunt for errors. Others simply enjoy completing state collections. Every quarter carries the possibility of discovery. That's a powerful idea. Think about how many coins pass through our hands each year. Most are ignored. Most are spent without a second glance. Yet hidden among them could be a coin with an unusual error, exceptional condition, or special significance. The next time you receive change, take a closer look. You might find a 2002D Washington quarter staring back at you. It may only be worth face value. Or it might be a remarkably preserved example that collectors would love to own. You'll never know unless you check. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson this coin teaches us. Treasures don't always look like treasure. Sometimes they hide in plain sight. Sometimes they're sitting in a drawer, a piggy bank, a forgotten jar, or the bottom of a pocket. The 2002 Washington quarter reminds us that history, curiosity, and possibility can all fit into the palm of your hand. So before you spend your next quarter, take a moment to examine it. Look for the mint mark. Study the design. Appreciate the story behind it. Because every coin has a journey. Every coin has a history. And every coin has the potential to surprise you. Have you ever found an unusual quarter in your change? Or do you own a 2002 Washington quarter that might be worth more than face value? Share your discovery in the comments below. And if you enjoy learning about hidden treasures, rare coins, and fascinating stories from everyday pocket change, make sure to subscribe and join us for the next adventure. You never know which coin could become your next great find. The coins in your pocket might seem ordinary. Most people spend them without a second thought. But what if one of those everyday quarters was hiding a surprising secret? What if a coin worth just 25 cents could spark the excitement of a treasure hunt and send collectors searching through jars, drawers, and old piggy banks across America? Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of the 2003 Washington quarter, a coin that millions of people have handled, but very few have truly examined. At first glance, it looks like just another quarter. But behind this small piece of metal lies a story of American history, a nationwide coin program, rare errors, and the possibility of finding something far more valuable than its face value. To understand why the 2003 Washington quarter attracts attention today, we need to travel back to the late 1990s. The United States Mint launched one of the most successful coin programs in American history, the 50-state quarters program. The goal was simple but brilliant. Every state would receive its own unique quarter design, released in the order that each state joined the Union. Americans instantly fell in love with the idea. People who had never collected coins before suddenly found themselves checking their change every day. Families built quarter collections together. Students learned state history through pocket change. Coin collecting experienced a massive revival unlike anything seen in decades. By 2003, the program was in full swing. That year featured 5 states: Illinois, Alabama, Maine, Missouri, and Arkansas. Millions of Americans eagerly awaited each release, hoping to complete their albums and discover something special. The Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark, struck hundreds of millions of these quarters. These coins traveled across the western United States, passing through countless hands, cash registers, vending machines, and bank vaults. But here's where things get interesting. Even though the 2003 Washington quarter was produced in enormous numbers, not every coin left the mint in perfect condition. And as experienced collectors know, sometimes the most valuable treasures come from mistakes. Think about it. When hundreds of millions of coins are produced at incredible speeds, tiny errors can occasionally slip through quality control. Most people never notice them, but collectors certainly do. Some 2003 quarters have been discovered with off-center strikes. Others show double die characteristics, where parts of the design appear doubled because of slight misalignments during the die creation process. There have also been examples of die cracks, cut errors, and unusual striking abnormalities. To the average person, these might look like flaws. To collectors, they can be gold mines. Imagine finding a quarter in your pocket change that appears slightly different from the others. Maybe the lettering looks unusual. Maybe part of the design seems shifted. What most people would spend without hesitation could potentially attract serious attention from collectors. And that's one of the reasons coin hunting remains so exciting. Every coin tells a story, and every error creates a unique chapter in that story. But rarity isn't always about mistakes. Condition matters too. This is where many people are surprised. A heavily circulated 2003 Washington quarter is generally worth its face value. After all, hundreds of millions were produced. However, Finding one in pristine condition is a completely different challenge. Consider what happens to coins in circulation. They bounce around in pockets. They scrape against other coins. They get dropped, scratched, and worn down over years of everyday use. Now imagine finding a 2003 quarter that somehow escaped all of that damage. A coin with brilliant surfaces, sharp details, and exceptional preservation can command significant premiums among collectors. Professional grading services carefully evaluate these coins, assigning numerical grades that help determine their value. The difference between an average circulated coin and a top-grade example can be dramatic. Sometimes the value jumps from mere cents to hundreds of dollars. That's the kind of discovery that keeps collectors searching. But there's another fascinating aspect of the 2003 Washington quarter that many people overlook. These coins represent a unique moment in American culture. The state quarters program wasn't just about money. It became a national educational project. Each design celebrated local history, achievements, and identity. For example, the Illinois quarter honored Abraham Lincoln and the state's role as the land of Lincoln. The Maine quarter featured a historic lighthouse and sailing ship, capturing the state's maritime heritage. Missouri's design highlighted the Lewis and Clark expedition, one of the most famous explorations in American history. Every quarter became a miniature history lesson. Think about how remarkable that is. A coin smaller than the palm of your hand carried stories of explorers, presidents, pioneers, and entire states. Millions of Americans unknowingly carried pieces of history in their pockets every day. And yet, most never stopped to look. That raises an interesting question. How many hidden treasures pass through our hands without us noticing? Coin collecting isn't really about money alone. It's about discovery. It's about holding a tangible piece of history. It's about wondering where a coin has traveled and whose hands have touched it over the years. The 2003 Washington quarter embodies that sense of adventure perfectly. Perhaps it sat in a cash register in Denver shortly after being minted. Maybe it traveled across several states. Perhaps it spent years forgotten inside a drawer before reappearing decades later in a coin roll searched by an excited collector. Every coin has a journey, and every journey leaves clues. Some collectors spend countless hours searching bank rolls for hidden gems. Others explore estate sales, flea markets, and inherited collections. The thrill isn't knowing what you'll find. The thrill is not knowing. That mystery transforms an ordinary search into a treasure hunt. Of course, whenever valuable coins are discussed, an important question follows. How much is a 2003 Washington quarter actually worth? The answer depends entirely on the specific coin. Most circulated examples remain worth 25 cents. Higher-grade, uncirculated examples can bring premiums from collectors. Exceptional specimens certified at the highest grading levels have sold for significantly more than face value, particularly when demand from registry-set collectors becomes competitive. And genuine mint errors can sometimes command impressive prices depending on their rarity and visual appeal. That's why careful examination matters. The next quarter you receive in change could look ordinary at first glance. But what if it isn't? What if there's a striking error hidden in plain sight? What if it's an unusually well-preserved example that survived untouched for decades? What if the coin everyone else ignored turns out to be the one collectors are searching for? History has shown that remarkable discoveries often begin with simple curiosity. One glance, one observation, one decision to take a closer look. The story of the 2003 Washington quarter reminds us that treasures aren't always buried beneath the ground or locked away inside ancient chests. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, mixed among everyday coins we handle without a second thought. And perhaps that's what makes coin collecting so magical. It turns ordinary objects into mysteries waiting to be solved. It transforms pocket change into history. Turns curiosity into adventure. So the next time you receive a quarter, don't rush to spend it. Take a moment to look at the date. Check the mint mark. Examine the details. You never know what story that coin might tell, or what value it might hold. Because somewhere out there, an ordinary-looking 2003 Washington quarter may still be waiting to surprise someone. And who knows? That someone could be you. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of hidden coin treasures, make sure to subscribe and join us for more incredible stories from the world of rare coins, historic discoveries, and valuable pocket change. And before you go, check your coins and let us know in the comments. What's the most interesting coin you've ever found in circulation? Your next discovery might be closer than you think. Have you ever picked up a quarter from your pocket and wondered if it could be worth far more than 25 cents? What if one ordinary-looking coin from 2005 could spark excitement among collectors, trigger bidding wars online, and send treasure hunters searching through rolls of change? Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of the 2005 Washington quarter, a coin that millions of people have handled without realizing the history, mystery, and hidden value it may carry. At first glance, the 2005 Washington quarter doesn't seem extraordinary. It looks like just another quarter in circulation. But as with many coins, appearances can be deceiving. Behind this small piece of metal lies a story connected to one of America's most successful coin programs, a massive production effort, and a collecting craze that captured the attention of an entire nation. To understand why this coin matters, we need to travel back to the early 2000s. The United States Mint was in the middle of the famous 50-state quarters program, one of the most popular coin initiatives in American history. Launched in 1999, the program was designed to honor each state with its own unique quarter design. Every few months, a new state quarter entered circulation, and Americans everywhere began checking their change, collecting folders, and hunting for missing pieces. People who had never cared about coins suddenly became collectors. Children searched through piggy banks. Parents saved fresh rolls from the bank. Grandparents shared stories about old coins and American history. The excitement spread across the country. Then came the year 2005. During that year, the Mint released quarters honoring California, Minnesota, Oregon, Kansas, and West Virginia. Each design celebrated something unique about its state, turning ordinary pocket change into miniature history lessons. The D Mint mark on the 2005 quarter tells us that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the most important coin-producing facilities in the United States. Located in Colorado, the Denver Mint has been manufacturing coins for generations, producing billions of pieces that circulate across America. In 2005, the Denver Mint was working at an incredible pace. Millions upon millions of state quarters rolled off its presses. The numbers were enormous. Yet despite these huge production figures, collectors knew something important. Not all coins survive in perfect condition. Think about it for a moment. A quarter enters circulation and immediately begins a difficult journey. It passes through cash registers, vending machines, parking meters, purses, wallets, and countless hands. Scratches appear. The shine fades. Tiny dents accumulate over time. Years later, finding a coin that still looks fresh and untouched becomes surprisingly difficult. This is where the story starts getting interesting. While most 2005 Washington quarters remain worth only face value in circulated condition, pristine examples can command significantly higher prices among collectors. Coins graded at the highest levels are especially desirable because they represent the very best survivors from an enormous mintage. Imagine two quarters struck on the same day. One spends 20 years bouncing through everyday commerce. The other somehow escapes circulation entirely, remaining protected and untouched. Both coins started their lives together, but their journeys created completely different outcomes. That difference can mean the difference between 25 cents and a much more impressive collector value. But condition isn't the only thing that excites treasure hunters. Error coins have always fascinated the collecting community. Whenever billions of coins are produced, mistakes occasionally happen. A coin may be struck off-center. A die might develop cracks. Certain design details could appear unusually weak or doubled. These minting errors transform ordinary coins into objects of curiosity and sometimes considerable value. And that's exactly why many collectors still inspect every 2005 quarter they find. What if there's an overlooked error? What if a rare variety is hiding in plain sight? What if a quarter sitting in a forgotten jar turns out to be something special? These questions keep the hunt alive. One of the most fascinating aspects of coin collecting is that valuable discoveries often happen when people least expect them. There are stories of collectors finding rare varieties in bankrolls. Others have discovered valuable coins inside inherited collections. Some have even spotted unusual pieces while counting everyday change. The thrill comes from uncertainty. Every coin could be ordinary, or it could be extraordinary. The 2005 Washington Quarter also represents an important moment in American culture. The state quarters program wasn't just about coins. It was about identity, history, and pride. Each design told a story. California's quarter celebrated natural beauty and exploration. Minnesota highlighted its lakes and wildlife. Oregon showcased the famous Crater Lake. Kansas honored the American buffalo and prairie landscape. West Virginia recognized its rich natural heritage. Suddenly, a simple quarter became a conversation starter. People learned geography. They learned history. They learned about states they had never visited. Few coin programs have ever achieved such widespread public engagement. Even today, many collectors remember the excitement of filling those blue quarter folders one coin at a time. But here's a surprising question. If so many 2005 quarters were produced, why do collectors still care about them? The answer reveals something fundamental about human nature. Collectors aren't always searching for the rarest coin ever made. Sometimes they're preserving memories. A 2005 quarter might remind someone of childhood coin hunts with family members. It might represent the year they started collecting. It might complete a state quarter set that took years to assemble. Value isn't always measured solely in dollars. Sometimes it's measured in stories. And stories are powerful. Of course, high-grade examples can still attract serious attention in the marketplace. Professional grading services carefully evaluate coins based on preservation, strike quality, luster, and overall appearance. The finest known examples often become prized possessions among advanced collectors. For these collectors, finding a nearly perfect 2005 quarter is like discovering a time capsule from the Denver Mint. Every detail remains sharp. Every surface reflects the craftsmanship of the original strike. Every feature preserves a moment frozen in time. That preservation creates rarity where most people see only commonness. Now consider this. Billions of coins have been minted throughout American history. Many are forgotten. Many disappear. Many become damaged beyond recognition. Yet a small number survive in exceptional condition and continue telling their stories decades later. The 2005 Washington Quarter is part of that ongoing story. It reminds us that history isn't always found in museums or ancient ruins. Sometimes history sits quietly in a coin jar. Sometimes it hides inside a bankroll. Sometimes it's resting in your pocket right now. And that's what makes coin collecting so captivating. The next great discovery doesn't necessarily require expensive equipment, advanced training, or years of experience. It begins with curiosity, the willingness to look closely at something others ignore, the willingness to ask questions, the willingness to wonder whether an ordinary object might have an extraordinary story. As we reach the end of our journey, the 2005 Washington Quarter stands as more than just a piece of currency. It's a symbol of a remarkable era in American coinage, a reminder of the nationwide collecting craze sparked by the state quarters program, and proof that even modern coins can inspire excitement and treasure hunting adventures. So the next time a quarter lands in your hand, don't spend it too quickly. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for that tiny D mint mark. Examine the condition. You never know what story that coin may hold. Could it be a common quarter worth only face value? Could it be a pristine survivor coveted by collectors? Or could it be the hidden treasure that everyone else overlooked? That's the mystery that keeps collectors searching, and it's exactly why the hunt never truly ends. If you enjoyed this story and want to discover more hidden treasures, rare coins, fascinating histories, and valuable finds hiding in plain sight, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us for the next adventure. Because somewhere out there, another remarkable coin is waiting to be found.